Hi guys, this is the advisor and welcome back to my channel. Now guys, we know the story of Beachy Stout and how he is allegedly murdered two of his wives. Now, his son recently has been convicted a few days ago for murdering his wife. That's Andre McDonald. Now, when I first heard the story from the trial was going on, I said to myself, the apple don't fall far from the tree. You know, in my mind, it's just like father, like son, and I left it at that. But somebody said something to me, called me all the way from England and said something to me, and I said, let me do some digging. So I went through the whole process of the case. I went through the case and I went through all the evidence and the testimonies and all the receipts and all the documentation that was involved in the case. And at the end, I think I have to change my story. All I want was the truth, and the closest thing to the truth I've found now is what I'm about to say. Right. Okay, well, let's begin. He met Andre McDonald met Andrene in Portland. At the time, he was in the army and he was visiting Portland for a couple of weeks in Jamaica to attend a funeral, or maybe he just come down and he end up going to the funeral of a friend of the family. He met Andrene there and they hooked up, they got together and they stayed together the 2 weeks. When he went back to the US, they continued corresponding, and he eventually came back down, got married to her, and he took her back to the United States with him. Now, when she went back to the United States with him, he gave her full support in getting herself elevated education-wise. She went to Texas State University to study business and finance, and he supported her fully. All through her course, he was there for her, with her. After she completed her course, he allowed her to... Now, guys, I want you to follow me, because unless you follow the story as to where it's coming from, you won't really understand the conclusion. So we're just taking it, just stay with me on this, because life is so funny. And when you see how this works out, or what led to what happened, you will understand. Now, when she got her degree, she told him that she wanted to start a business. Remember, she don't have any money because she never worked from she come there. He supported her all through, which is what he is supposed to do. No problem with that. Anyway, and she suggested a home care business. It's called assistant living, where they would assist retired old people to live a sort of useful life or decent life while they are still around. And they started the business, and it was going. He invested his money, and it was going on and on and on. Anyway, it so happened that the business was successful. They bought a second property and expanded, and it was going great. And eventually, things were going fine. But in 2016, he was promoted from captain to major. He became a major. And when he became a major, he realized that because of the new responsibilities he was going to have now within the army, he knew that he wouldn't be able to find the time to spend in the business as much as he wanted to, because he knew that his wife needed his support. So what he decided to do was, so instead of he was going to come out of regular service and then become a reserve. So he became a reserve army man and gave up regular service so that at least he will have a little less amount of time to spend in the day-to-day service in the army, and more time to spend supporting his wife in the business. Okay, but with becoming a reserve now, so they're moving him out of electrical engineering and move him into cyber defense. So now he'll be going to cyber defense, which is a different thing, with different area. So for him to take over this new post and this new promotion, he would need to undergo 6 months of training. So he would be away from the business for a while, undergoing 6 months of training, and would be able to come home like every night or even every week. So while doing that now, so he went on the 6 months training course. While on the 6 month training course, when the course was close to ending, like maybe 2 or 3 weeks to go, he got a text from his wife telling him that when the course is over, he should not come home. She don't want him in the house. But he was a bit concerned because he was thinking, well, we just start opening a new premises, turning it into business to expand the business, and I'm planning that the workmen are there now working, and when I leave here after the 6 months training, I intended to hold a grand opening for the new set of offices and so on and so forth. So this shocked him because he has been away from her for a while and he did not understand where this was coming from. He just didn't know. But eventually, by the time the course ended, which is 2 to 3 weeks down the line, she decided to let him back into the house. She decided to say, all right, you can come home. And one of the main reasons why he went home too is because it was coming up to Christmas. And he needed his family. We, as Jamaican men, when it comes to Christmas, we take it seriously and we love to be around family. And his daughter, he had an autistic daughter who was about 7-year-old at that time. And he needed to be with her and he needed his family. So he just put everything aside and he went back home just to be with her. However, while he was in the house, the relationship was just not the same. She was giving him the cold shoulder and everything was bothering her. She was very fussy and he just couldn't understand why everything bothered her. His very presence seemed to bother her. And while he was, during that time, he got calls from Portland in Jamaica telling him that his wife, in the space of 6 months that he was away on training, his wife had been to Jamaica twice. And when she went to Jamaica, she stayed in the house of her ex-boyfriend. Her ex-boyfriend. So when he found that out now, he decided that he was going to file for a divorce. During the time that he was trying to file for the divorce, he realized that his name, some documents came through the post regarding the business. She wasn't at home at the time, so he gathered them up and he burst the envelope and went through them, only to find out that his name was not in any of the checks. None of the checks, none of the bank documents pertaining to the company contained his name. In other words, he had no control over none of the money that was being spent. He couldn't touch a dollar within the business, even though he part owned the business and was the one who 100% financed the business. He just didn't know, and he had left everything up to her, and he was just now becoming aware of what was really going on. So he called her attention to it and said, listen, how is this? We need to sort this out. And she said, okay, we'll go and do it tomorrow. Or she gave him a time. Okay, the time she gave him was a Saturday. So on the Saturday morning, when they were supposed to leave out to go to the bank, she started making a whole heap of fuss. She just started fussing, and he said he don't know what the argument was over, but he knows she was just fussing and carrying on, and he just could not understand why she was behaving like that. But eventually, the way it worked out, because of the way she was going, he just left the house to just go cool out. So he just, drove out and just went away. When he came back to the house about maybe midday, he saw police at the door. He saw police at the house. When he went to ask his wife what was going on, he asked the police what was going on and things, only to find out that his wife had called police on him that he was beating her up. So she went out to the police, and the police examined her, and she said, and they couldn't find any mark of violence on her anywhere on her body. So the police asked her if she wanted to be taken, if them to come in the car and they take her to a medical examiner, or she wanted them to call an ambulance. She said no. So the police realized that she was lying. So the police said, listen, here is what we'll do. Since as you and she is kind of in a little bad spot now, leave the house and go cool out for a day or two, maybe 3 days, we don't know, but take some time away from the house and leave. And then when things calm down, you can come back. He decided to do that. So he allowed the police to stay there while he went in the house, throw some personal stuff in a weekend bag, and he left and go rented a hotel room. Again, after a few weeks, she persuaded him to come back, telling him how much she's sorry. But by this time, when he had left, he had decided to file for a divorce, and he did file for the divorce. And during the space of time now, while the divorce was being filed for, she called him and apologized and tell him how sorry she was, and she'll not do it again, and that they should try and make it up and let the marriage work. And he said, well, all right, yes, he would give it a try. So he actually went back home, and he started taking steps now to stop the divorce proceedings from going through. And at the same time when he came back, she asked him to buy some more property, invest some more money into some other business ventures to expand the business. And because the business was going well, he agreed that they should expand, and he pumped more money into it. But at the same time, he didn't bother to pursue the whole issue of the his name not being in any checks or all of that. He just decided that he would just go ahead, let her handle it, and for a peaceful and quiet life, he would just let her have her own way, and so on and so forth. So, it went on for a while until he started getting cold shoulder again, when she would just storm off, hurl insults, ignore him, and that kind of thing. And that went on for another while. But what take the cake is that one weekend, on the 4th of July, they went to a friend's house. And it was while they were at the friend's house that he realized that she had a tattoo on her upper arm. It was during that time that he realized that she had tattooed a name and some numbers on the inside of her upper arm. He recognized the name as that of her sideman in Jamaica, the man she had been in a relationship with before he met her. The same man she had gone to Jamaica to be with during the time he had been in training a few months back, and that name was Arbin Hall. It caused an argument between them because at the time he saw it, they were hanging out a friend's house, and this was on July 4th, 2018, Independence Day, American Independence Day, July 4th. You know, and this was just 5 days before their wedding anniversary. So imagine, within a week to your wedding anniversary, you got tattoo another man's name on your body, and you have a husband. Anyway, he knew Arbin Hall because he knew that Arbin Hall and his wife had been in a relationship before he met her. As a matter of fact, it came out that she and Arbin Hall used to grind from she was 13 years old. And Arbin Hall is nearly 11 years, just 2 or 3 months short of 11 years older than her. So this man, this big man, this little girl used to take that big great tone man from she was underage. And even when she married, she did still keep the man foot to foot, toe to toe with her husband. And remember, their wedding, they got married on July 9th, right? And on July 4th, he discovered that she had put this tattoo of her sideman on her body. So that night, when he discovered it when they were at a friend's house. So when they came home, him just move out of the bedroom and just leave her. Because this is big disrespect. Come on, bang out of order. So he made note of the numbers that were on the tattoo because he didn't understand it. Because the number was 041476. But he didn't know what they mean. But he figured that it might be the guy's birthday. Because he knew the guy was born in a March month. And I think it was 76, but he wasn't sure. So what he did know, just to get confirmation and to have something to go into the lawyer, he decided to check it out. And when he Googled the guy's name, and Googled, because he knew that the guy had a brother who run a nightclub. And he knew that this guy was a party freak. Arbin Hall was a party freak. So what he did, he knew that if this guy is a party freak and his brother owned a nightclub and he was having a birthday, more than likely he would keep events at the brother's nightclub. So what he did, and when he went and Googled and searched, he found several party posters pertaining to birthday parties for this man. And he now confirmed that this man was born on the 14th of March, 1976. So there you go. He got what he wanted to know. So he did his little detective work and deciphered what was going on. After some weeks, somehow they made it up. I don't know how if him stomach so strong for go sleep back in a bed with a woman, with a wife who tattoo her sideman name upon her body, but he eventually started sleeping with her again. Anyway, this went on and they tolerated each other. Anyway, in 2019, about February of 2019, she called him and asked him, she told him that she wanted to go to Jamaica to a Buju Banton concert. Buju Banton, I think, had just come out of jail in the United States, and he was holding his Long Road to Freedom concert. So she decided that she wanted to go, and she told him that she was going, and he said, no, you can't leave. You cannot leave. You cannot leave me with the baby and the business. You need to stay here. And she decided that she wanted to go. But anyway, because he insisted that she cannot go, What she did? She moved out of the bedroom, moved out of the master bedroom, and she moved into the guest bedroom. So, realizing now what was going on, he decided that, well, that this wasn't really going anywhere because he knew, or he figured that more than likely is our side man she wanted to go to be with and not the concert, because he knew, and one of the reasons why the red flags went up was that he have never in about 8 years, or about 9 years at the time that he had known her, she had never played a Buju Banton song. Never. She had never even called the name Buju Banton in her mouth. So he was really surprised that she wanted to go to a Buju Banton concert when Buju Banton obviously meant nothing whatsoever to her. So he suspected that Buju Banton was the excuse for her to go to Arbin Hill. And he figured that since we were trying to work the marriage out, why would you be doing that? So she just didn't want to work anything out. Anyway, let's cut to February 28, 2019. It started out like any normal day. He would wake up in the morning. Here's how their routine go in the house. He would wake up about 5 o'clock, and by 5:30, he would wake up his daughter. He would get her ready for bathe her, dress her. He was the one who bathed her, dress her, give her her cereal, give her vitamins, and then he would get himself ready. And then he would drop his daughter at school or whatever institution she go to. She was about 8 at the time. And then he would go straight on to work, reaching work in the 8 bells. His wife would just wake up in the morning around the same time and head out and go to gym. Because she worked the gym twice a day sometimes. She was like a health freak. So the sort of wifely duties, so to speak, was left to him. And he would do that and drop her off before going to work. He had also arranged with her to go to the accountants to file their taxes, both the personal taxes and for the business. So that was what they had planned for that day. They were supposed to meet up at the tax people and then, sign whatever documents to be signed. But he reached there before her. So when he reached there, she didn't come yet. But because they were a couple, the tax people handed him all the documents, everything, read the filing, and he went through them. While going through them, he realized that there was one company named Alain Property Management Services, which he didn't know anything about. Not only did he not know anything about, but after he had moved out of after he was on the course the year before, and she had told him not to come home. When she let him back into the house, when his course was finished, what she did was to ask him to all that money that he had invested during the time when he was away. He had no share in that business. She had registered that business in her name alone. So he thought that he was coming home to have a grand opening for a company that they owned jointly. But actually, in truth and in fact, he did not have any. She had transferred the money out of the business that they both owned, form a new company that she owned, doing this thing on her own with his other monies that he was giving her, thinking that he was part of the business, but he was not part of it. She registered a new company that she solely owned and was using his money and the money from the joint company that they owned, pouring into a new business that was for her alone. So when he went through it and he saw it, she eventually came to the tax people office and he brought it up in front of the tax people, but he didn't make a fuss. When he reached back home that evening, he had it out with her. He said, listen, look, you were just telling her, look at what you're doing, so and so on. This time he said, I'm really going for the divorce this time. And this time I'm not backing down, one. And two, I am going to, this is fraud. This is fraud. This is embezzlement. And I am going to bring in the police. I'm going to get the police involved. And this time I want my divorce. You know? While they were engaged in that discussion, a lot of fuss started. It started becoming loud and boisterous. So what he did, by this time it was about 7 in the evening, he left the house and he just decided to leave and go cool out because his daughter was beginning to see what was happening and he didn't want her to see him and his wife, her mother, arguing and quarreling. So he left the house. So he was away from around 7 o'clock and he went to a gas station and he parked the car and just tried to relax in the car and even fell asleep. After hours, when it reached about 10 o'clock in the night, he drove from there and he went to a park and he sat on a park bench and so on. But anyway, everything that I'm telling you now, the documentation was presented in court, the videos of everything that took place, and the phone records and everything were available. So I'm not making anything up. This is not like he said, she said, or dead man tell no tales. This is what all the evidence came out in court. Anyway, he stayed in the park till after midnight. At around little after midnight, he came into the house. And the reason why he stayed away so long is that he didn't want to see her. He didn't want to have nothing to do with her. So he just stayed away. He said he wanted to make sure that when he arrived at the house, she would be fast asleep. And therefore, he would have peace. He could just go into his room, fall asleep, and next morning he would just try and just leave before a fuss. Because this now is just divorce. There's no need for talk. The police is going to be involved and all that. So he'll just leave it as it is. No fuss with her. Anyway, when he reached the house, expecting that he would be alone, the wife was up in the living room, wide awake, waiting for him. So she asked him if he was really going to do what he said. And he said, yes, I'm getting the police involved tomorrow morning. I'm getting the police involved. This is a case of fraud. This is embezzlement. And I need my money back. And also, I need my divorce. And this time, I am serious. There is nothing you and I have to talk about. Nothing. There is no place for discussion. This has been going on for a number of years. You have been grinding one man with me. You tattoo his details, name and things on your body. You stop giving me my conjugal rights and he lists all the things, reasons why it does not make sense. So she tell him, say, all right then. She tell him, go SEO, mother, BT boy. Yeah, no, you know a BT boy. I'm trying to say this is YouTube. I can't say it out. But got SEO mother, BT boy. And when she keeps saying that, he said, listen, your mother has lived in this house with me for several years. Your mother. And I've never one day disrespected your mother. Why are you disrespecting mine? I've never disrespected your mother. And she keep telling him she don't want to hear nothing. If you do him, please, go and keep saying, go S your mother, BT boy. And he said he went up in her face. And he pushed her with his index finger. And she said, basically the fight started. But basically, the man was at his I don't know, but the man had reached his breaking point. Everybody have a breaking point. Every human being have a breaking point, and he had just reached his after all these years of provocation. So he went berserk. Obviously, he had gone berserk. He just lost all his faculty just went awry, and she ended up losing her life. But what he was saying in effect, is listen, do not think that I was there brutalizing her. He said, I am 5'9". She's a 6-footer. And it's true. He sits around a desk every day in an air-conditioned office every day because he is no longer on active duty. He's a reserve. But he goes in several days a week and he sits at a desk and then come home. She go to the gym twice a day. Early morning at maybe 5:36, she's at the gym. And she go to the gym 7, 8 o'clock most nights. So she's super fit. And as you can see from these photos, he is a guy, he is medium framed. He doesn't look all that, he's not a weakling by any means. But definitely she's taller, and you can see from the build of her shoulders and her upper arm, you can see that she is extremely athletic. So you see, she would have put up a good physical confrontation with him. She could go toe to toe with him 100%. And possibly she would have hurt him in the process. But anyway, as a man, naturally he would have eventually gotten the upper hand, and what happened happened. So the point I'm making here is everybody have their breaking point, and he had just reached his breaking point, and that happened. But I can tell you this. I would say that this man, he put up with a whole lot, and at the stage that he reached, when he reacted, he was only doing what any normal human being would have done. The man had just reached his point. To me, it's just the coward of the county. He wasn't holding nothing back. He just let her have it all. And I'll say this. Andre McDonald, you can hold your head up high. You might be in that place, but you're a man. You have regained your masculinity. I am quite sure that it is very likely that I would have done the same. And me not tell a lie, if I saw you go Andrene, you deserve what you get. You deserve what you get. And should I wake you up 10 times, resurrect you, and dirt you again, and resurrect you and dirt you several times over. You deserve the dirting based on everything that I know so far. So guys, like, share, leave a comment below, and I look forward to seeing you in my next video.